Hello and welcome to The Time of Telling. I'm Mark Walker and this is Oscar. This podcast is based on my unpublished manuscript, The Time of Telling, John Star Cook and the Word of One Tarot. Now, picking up from where we left off in episode 2, Rosalind had finally found a babysitter and she was able to drive down to John's place in Carmel to attend the 12th Ouija board session. The first 11 sessions had introduced the group to the concept of the Royal Maze, although not yet the tarot card of the same name. Instructions had been given for 3 new cards, and John had painted these. These were the new High Priestess card, the Mother, the new Fool card, the nameless one, and the new Hanged Man card, the Hanging Man. You can view all of these images at royalmaze.com and the full 22 images of the cards at royalmaze.com. So now it's the Fab Five: John, Dean, Rom, Nadine and Rosalind. The session begins. Seeds are sprouting. Buds promised will not wither. We have grown since we last gathered. It is budding. Worlds are to be won this night. Storms will abate. Calm will be the atmosphere. Tensions will not be known. The wand of Athena will touch the brow, and our work will continue. The warden has opened the steely doors. The sun enters again, and a butterfly wings in. The vulture departs. Relax. And there are further questions and responses, and we responds to these with this statement: 5 fingers a hand make. Now this statement would be revisited by John many years later in his film Prophecy of the Royal Maze, which is available at royalmaze.com. 5 fingers a hand make. Remember, you are lost in a strange land. The language is only sensed. You are far from home. If you think you are home, you will never get there. The day came to each when he thought he would never get back home. If he but knew, 1 step more would have put him home. Always take 1 more step. Rest now. Return if you will. There is more. Now the group took a coffee break and the session resumed. And here's a section that I'll read out because it's revisited later on in this unpublished manuscript. The board speaks. Ruth is here, and Ruth is fruitful. A child was born. He walked with men and beasts. The men he tamed, the beasts he loved. And Ruth wept. The beasts ripped the man-child's heart from his body and left it. No man came near the living dead. Ruth gathered the heart to her bosom and roamed the far regions of the world, seeking she knew not what. After seasons of wandering, the living heart rocked. This stone was placed in a common place, in a common spot, for all to see and think upon. This, Ruth's heart of hearts, reached the heart of all. You will see the day when this heart of stone is found and placed in operation. T. Ruth. Now, at this point, Rosalind had a question for the board, but rather than say it out loud, she wrote it on a piece of paper. The question asked how to solve an urgent financial problem and how to make money. The board responded, "Burn it, burn it." And Rosalind burned the paper in the fireplace. The session continued before we described the new world card, the Virgin. And I'll just recite from the manuscript. So the next session, session 13, continued. And John asked, "Will there be another book tonight?" Indeed there was. The Book of Unity was described by we, the new lovers card. Rosalind attended session 14, and after some preamble about the motherland and the sisterland, some advice about the play of life, an obscure tale of a lost girl child, and an admonishment to Rosalind's unvoiced concerns, John noted the colours they could all see around the hands of himself and Rom. "What colours are around our hands? Pink, gold, green, blue-grey." Some weeks earlier, there had been a similar event where a green light circulated their hands. We then delivered the description of the victorious one, the reversal of the Chariot card. Session 15 begins with we offering assertions and advice concerning the Royal Maze, dreams, desert sands, and the missing Dean. And then the Book of the Way Shower is revealed, the revised star card. Now this is a poster version of the Way Shower card up here. Session 16 has we sharing various facets of one consciousness in the form of assertions and advice before John asked, "Will you give us the Sun book tonight?" We responds, "This evening, yes." And then there's a question from I'm not sure who. Something comes first. "What of LSD?" We responds, "We cannot talk about LSD, but we can say this about you. You are always the same self. Sometimes you see yourself more clearly. You need not worry about methods that allow you to see yourself without dark glasses." We then goes on to describe the revised Sun card, excuse me, the Doer. Session 17 sees we offering more assertions and advice before describing the next book, the revised Devil card, the Thinker. Session 18 sees we offer assertions, advice, a strange tale, and the following statement, which was to be remembered and became almost a motto when the tarot books were completed and people began to swarm the house at the Highlands like bees to a hive. There are other matters this night: songs, reports, answers, and more. You have a visitor, a sister dear. Placed on the table is a morsel for the hungry and a drop for the thirsty. The table is above ground, and dogs and swine sup not at this table. Spread now its goodness. Intravenous feeding must take place for those you bring to this table. The table is portable. Feed the multitudes. We then correctly predicted the return of Andre, stating, "Upriver comes a bark. The current rushes downriver, yet the advance is steady and sure. The landing will be made. Ashore will step the bringer of bright stones." After some further information regarding the bringer of bright stones, we revealed the revised tower card, the Citadel. And then, on the 12th of December 1962, the group decided to hold an LSD session. This is very early on in the history of LSD, 1962. They had taken the advice of the board in the hope that they might see the self more clearly. As the LSD wore off, John and Rom put their fingers together on the silver dollar as we offered encouragement and promises that the day of fullness awaited. 3 days after the group's LSD session, session 20 was held. Quoting from the Word of One, "By this time, 10 of the revised books of tarot had been given, and they hung at the northern end of the room, between the front door and a huge Tibetan temple drum. They were illumined by altar candles, sparkling like jewels in multicoloured holders. Or rather, 9 of them were. The most recent, the Citadel, was on a shelf underneath the Hayagriva Tanka, the guardian of the West, to the right of the fireplace." We begins by telling of a deep well, which brings questions from John, and then we offers advice and assertions and parables. Rosalind has evidently moved to Carmel by this stage. She asks a question about her move and whether she should take a job that had been offered. John asks, "May we speak of another book?" We obliges with a description of the new Hermit card, the Seeker. Session 21 took place on 23 December 1962. Prior to the session, there had been a sharp telephone conversation with Rosalind, who had not been pre-warned of the session and was furious at being left out. As the others were not yet used to her being close enough to attend, they had not thought to invite her. John called her around 8 p.m. to ask if she wanted any questions asked that night. She said, enraged, that she should have been asked to be present. By the time she got there half an hour later, after hastily getting a babysitter, everyone was angry, and dark and scowling looks were exchanged. So, after some opening words of encouragement, we directs John to place an issue on the table. John asks why he continually got the blame for things, and we is in the midst of responding when Rosalind arrives. There was a heated discussion, and those dark, scowling looks were exchanged. We continued to advise John, and then Rosalind asked a silent question about the suffering she was undergoing due to the urgent financial problem and the need to care for her family. The garment cutting job had not panned out. There appeared to be no solution, and she felt the problem had gone on for much too long. We offered advice, which Rosalind rejected at the time, but understood much later. We then offered a description of the revised Emperor card, the Actor. Rosalind was present for session 22, alongside George, who was John's former support worker, who had been away from the Highlands for 3 years. He was still a part of the group, and everyone was delighted at the reunion. We acknowledged George and offered him some words of wisdom before John asked several questions of a personal nature and we offered a visualization exercise, answering George's questions on some symbols and another tale. Rosalind then asked, "Would you tell us of the big mistakes we have made lately?" We responded, "The only mistakes made in the present period have been of not listening. Even now, one speaks, and not all hear always." We then revealed the revised Empress card, the Feeler. Session 23 saw we offer more assertions, advice, warnings, observations, and promises before stating, "Into the maze you have stalked." There was some discussion of the maze, but we closed the session stating we will not review a book tonight. Session 24 consisted of the original 5 plus 3 visitors, including Jared Mays, who was 18 years old and sported a beard. After some opening words of encouragement, we said we would speak to the bearded one. Mays, Jared Mays that is, later recalled moments from his time at the house. I'll just read a little bit of the introduction to The Word of One, written by Jared Mays in the 70s. More recollections and reflections. African drum beats. Everybody in the house sitting together on an enormous couch, cuddling close. America's most controversial beat poet wanders in and out with a whole party of musicians. Everybody goes out to look at the stars. Very proper little old ladies come and chat about spiritual matters. A large number of people who join us and pass through to other routes become very quiet, very peaceful, but many blow the lid off of old repressed emotions, family quarrels. So in this session, we offered advice to Jared Mays and the other visitors, Pat and Roger, before Rosalind asked a question. "Would you please speak about my book of Big Sur history?" We responded. Would you deal with primaries?" Rosalind said, "But the book is primary." We responded, "You will not. As we have said many times, we cannot incline the twig. We strain to withhold the lumps. Love does triumph in the end. Here is one that refuses. Let it not be said that there is one who lost out." During the ensuing coffee break, Rosalind felt very annoyed by the answer she had received and said so. We then offered a challenge, which Dean accepted, before introducing the revised Wheel of Fortune card, the Royal Maze. Quoting from the book again, "What a curious coincidence that the book of the Royal Maze had been given on the night that Jared Mays attended a session for the first time. More had been written about the Royal Maze than any other book, for it had been referred to from the beginning." Session 25 brought from we a monologue concluding, "The juice of memory rises. When it spills will be the time of reversal. It is coming. Be ye prepared. Mighty shall be the roar, violent the rending, joyous the release." Session 26 saw we deliver advice, assertions, parables, and prophecies before John queried what he ought to do now, that there was something yet to be done. I wish to ask about what is now to be done by me. That is, I have, through hints gotten certain ingredients, such as that it involves reversal, a body centre to be opened, the legs, the letter R, but there is yet something I do not get. Do you know what I mean? Will you hint? We responds, the thing is in your throat, and shall come forth. Session 27 was the original 4, plus a visitor, Bill, who was a friend of Dean's and who stayed on to become part of the group. We begins. The silver beam has entered the throat. Softly and bloodlessly it has found its mark. The penetration has been fulsome, yet a while it shall linger. Its egress shall be unnoticed, it shall go forth and will return to another vital. Quit now with thoughts of the royal maze. Earlier that day, an enormous mirror broke in the living room, and John asked why that had happened. We responded, mirror, mirror on the wall, the self will be seen. Remember for a later time the throat. You have seen the image cracking. We will do away with reflections then. We goes on. The Rosetta Stone is rolled away. A burden is lifted. A free soul flies onward. Yellow eyes, unblinking, number the years. Through the portal enters the recorder to the chamber of scrolls. He goes in aloneness. He unfolds the past. That which is writ, he wrote. It is read now and rewritten. The scrolls are wrapped again. He leaves the chamber and seals the portal. The wheel turns a revolution. Session 28 was on the 6th of February and was the 5 plus John's sister Alice. After some sunny words and a welcome to Alice, we is asked, why have the books stopped? We responds, this is the time of change of many things. Some have changed, some must, some will. The books remaining for record will come in their season. Your acceptance of this period was expected. Session 29 on 10th of February was the original 5 minus Dean. We talks of the mother begetting the son and a wise one waiting before describing the revised strength card, the deliverer. Session 30, 6 days later, was the 5 plus Bill. We delivered words of comfort and the promise of fulfillment, with answers for individual questions, including from Nadine, who was about to leave on a world trip. The session closed with we calling for all to eat of the kernel that had been served on the day of reversal, which was well past cock crow. Session 31 saw the 5 minus Nadine and a visitor, Jim. We began with some assertions regarding peace, with which Jim engages. Questions from Rosalind and John followed regarding life purpose and reincarnation, plus various other questions and answers. Session 32 was Rom and John with 3 visitors, mother and daughter Mayfield and Benny, and Lenore. Mayfield taught a graphology class at John's house, but no students had arrived this evening, so she joined the session. Lenore asked silent questions regarding her disabled daughter Carrie, and most of the session concerns this matter. Session 33 on the 26th of February 1963 was with Rom, John and Rosalind. We began with a prophecy of uncovering and after some individual questions, delivered the reversal of the magician card, the changer. Session 34 was the 5 minus Nadine and Rosalind's daughter Michaela, aged 10. After painting pictures and abstractions, we delivered another parable and a lesson in sheep to cloak clothing. John asked whether the revised High Priestess card should be named Creator, and we responded, she is the mother, and then went on to describe a new book, the revised Death card, the Renewer. Michaela ended up attending 5 sessions over the next 18 months. Michaela remembers the sessions being enhanced by Nadine's operatically beautiful vocalizations. Her mother, Rosalind, and John were very interested in the occult, mysticism, symbolism, and in experimenting with psychoactive drugs such as peyote and LSD. At session 35, John, Rom, Dean, and Rosalind sat at the board. After several back and forth questions and answers, we revealed the revised Moon card, the Reactor. Session 36 was attended by Rom, John, Dean, Rosalind, and Michaela, who sat in the corner drawing pictures. We spoke. The blade has cleft illusion. Middled are the halves. Blunted not is the instrument. With a thunderous stroke it was done. The time of telling draws near. Twice told it will not be this time, once only. We followed this with assertions and answers to various questions, followed by the description of the revised Justice card, the Donor. Session 37 was held by Rom, John, Dean, Alice, Lenore, and Mayfield. We began with encouragement before John briefly brought up Meher Baba, and then we expounded the vision of the reversed Hierophant card, the Speaker. Session 38 consisted of Rom, John, Dean, Rosalind, and Michaela. Quoting from the book, now 20 tarot books hung on the walls of the house at the Highlands. It was clear that the end was approaching, for there were only 22 major trumps. None remained undone save Temperance and Judgment. Which would be the last? Was the apocalypse coming close? In that day? Yes, surely there was a feeling among the group of imminence. Michaela continued to draw pictures, seemingly paying no attention to what the adults were doing on the Ouija board in another part of the room. She seemed bored and uninterested. However, occasionally she listened. Nadine was still away, and recent postcards had come from Egypt. She was going up and down the Nile and visiting the tombs, ruins, and pyramids. We began session 37 with confident and positive assertions, advice, parables, and an invitation for questions. Eventually, John asks, "Is there a book?" And we reveals the revised Temperance card, the Reverser. Session 39 was Rom, John, Dean, Rosalind, Jared, Michaela, and a visitor, Gordon. We prophesizers. In that day shall blend the elements. There shall be expressed in a new expression. They shall be expressed in a new expression. Him who knows shall be the expresser. Ye shall know that day and that one. Now it is a day without number. In that day they shall be numberless. A question is asked, what do you mean by elements? Do you mean earth, water, air, fire? We responds, you have said it. An event has produced a number of events which shall produce the event. Question, what is the event? We responds, the event of knowing. That which is known is one. You are the answer to that one. Individual questions follow. One of these questions was from John. What is my real name? We responds, your name is Legion. So I'll just write that here. We then proceeded to the book in hand, the revised judgment card, and the final of the 22 books, the Noah. Session 40, 3 days later, was with Rom, John, or Legion, Dean and Alice. We began. The press has loosed a goodly juice. Its substance shall vitalize the days ahead. Its colour will transform. Its flavour will satisfy as nothing else. Its body is new. The grape is no longer needed, not even for mash. The juice is for now. You have drunk it and are sobered thereby. There were numerous questions from John, including, what of the time of telling? We responded, you will not be involved with the telling. It will be told of you. The paintings of the 22 revised tarot trumps were soon completed by John. While Nadine had been on her round-the-world trip, the group had mailed her the latest updates of the transcripts of the sessions. Now Nadine had returned and had invited Dr. Andrea Puharich and some friends to Amaranthus, which is the name of John's house, to celebrate her homecoming. John already knew Puharich, who had visited him in Mexico in early 1960. Between 1958 and 1961, Puharich had lived in Carmel Valley, Carmel, but at the time of the session was directing research into the use of electronic devices for the rehabilitation of hearing. Session 41 was with Rom, Nadine, Legion, Dean, Rosalind, Bill, and 5 visitors, Puharich, David, Melanie, Charles, and Charlotte. We offered comforting assertions, a ballad, and elliptical answers to individual questions. The sessions continued to be held every week or so, and we offered advice, assertions, words of comfort, and so on to the gradually increasing numbers of visitors. One of the visitors asked, "Who sends this message?" We responds, "One speaks." And that's where we will leave it for today. Thank you very much for watching. This is the time of telling.